Riddick led the way with moviegoers last weekend. Van Diesel's sci-fi thriller made $18 million at its box office debut. It beat out Lee Daniels' The Butler, which fell to second place with $8.9 million. The Spanish-language comedy Instructions Not Included was third with $8.1 million. A mafia comedy and a horror sequel try to make a splash at the movies. Here's Sean McBride, the movie guy, with a preview of this weekend's new releases.
Welcome to France. Try to fit in. I'm getting tired of finding you a new place to live every 90 days.
Robert De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Tommy Lee Jones star in The Family, a dark comedy of a mafia capo who's in the witness protection program. He and his family move to France, where they don't quite get along with the locals.
Your family's the incarnation of evil.
The Family is a strange and strained mix of mainstream comedy with R-rated violence. As much as we love the cast here, nobody expects this mob comedy to be much of a hit.
Whatever it was that was haunting my family, it's not done with us.
Insidious Chapter 2 is obviously the sequel to Insidious, one of the better horror films from the past few years. Things pick up right where the last movie left off, with the Lambert family trying to survive the spirits that haunt them, spirits that threaten to tear the family apart.
I heard voices in the hallway. Is there something wrong with Daddy, Mom?
My sister, she's having this fancy dinner party. Would you want to go with me?
Yeah, what time?
It's 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
So the best film out this week is the Sundance coming-of-age drama, The Spectacular Now, the story of a bad boy and a good girl who fall for each other. This is a very good drama, with great acting and a solid, never cliched screenplay. Easily the best film of the week.
Amy, you're absolutely beautiful.
Oh my God, no.
And that's what's new this week at the movies. I'm Sean McBride, the movie guy.
And Sean McBride, the movie guy, joins us via the Skype to talk about the new movies. Hi, Sean.
How you doing?
Good. Let's start with The Family. Now, this strikes me as Robert De Niro sort of spoofing Robert De Niro.
Yeah, very much so. It's a film that we've seen a couple of times before. You know, it's interesting because it is a very good cast. I mean, De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, Tommy Lee Jones. You've also, forgive me, I forget the woman's name from Glee. She's in it as well. I mean, a good cast and a very weird kind of a feel to it, because part of it wants to be a real mainstream comedy and part of it gets really dark and violent. And I'm not sure those things mix all that well, but it's, you know, it's fun watching the cast. You know, I think the problem is that the director, Luc Besson, who is a great action film director, and he does that stuff very well, but I don't think he's very good at the comedy moments. I just thought it was kind of a weird mix that didn't really work.
Yeah, I'm curious how they handle the violence. Is this violence is it cartoon violence, or is it violence with consequences?
Oh, yeah, there's consequences, but it's a comedy, so you're correct that, you know, to some extent you always know that, you know, our heroes, our anti-heroes are going to make it out of this thing. But, you know, a lot of stuff blows up. A lot of the stuff just happens. It's kind of a, you know, it just happens without really any thought. And suddenly we're blowing up a grocery store. And I'm not sure how we feel about that. It's just kind of, oh, there it is. It happened. Sorry if we beat the plumber and had to put him in the hospital. Sorry about that. But it's all for a good laugh. You know, it's just kind of a weird film. It just doesn't work to me. It doesn't mix well.
A horror genre sequel out this week, Insidious Chapter 2, and of course they're getting this out in rush of all the other horror movies that will come out before Halloween.
Yeah, we've got horror movies coming up week after week after week. Insidious was a very good horror film, and this one I think is not quite the same, and quite frankly, if you didn't see Insidious, the first one, this one's not going to make much sense to you. But it's a continuation, and if you're a fan of the first Insidious, I think you'll be okay with it. You know, a lot of straightforward, you know, people jumping out at you and just, you know, motion scares and music cues that will get you to jump. I don't think it's a great film. I think it's far inferior than the first Insidious. But fans of Insidious will certainly want to check it out.
A movie that may not be on folks' radar, The Spectacular Now. This is from the writers of 500 Days of Summer. I guess it's a coming-of-age romance, if you will, but actually it's done really well among the critics, and we have a chance to see it here in Beaumont.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see a smaller independent film that's getting great reviews open up in Beaumont, and it is far and away the best film out this week. like I said, sort of an indie comedy, coming of age type of thing. It's interesting because a lot of those coming of age movies end up becoming very cliched. You know, a sort of boy meets girl, they learn a life lesson, and then they move on with their lives. This one does not feel cliched. It has some really, really good acting. It has a nice, unpredictable script. It feels like you're right there with these two teenagers. I thought this was a very good film. These are two of my favorite performances of the year. I certainly think if you like quality dramas, and particularly if you're sort of been tired of all these summer blockbusters, for the last 3-4 months, this is certainly a film to see.
Yes.
A very quiet film. It'll sort of rip your heart apart. It'll make you laugh sometimes, but it's quiet, it's reserved, it's intimate. I think it's a wonderful film.
Yeah, and you certainly encourage people to support films. If they want to see these type of films come into the area, then it's got to do well in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's got to make some money, and for a small film with a small budget, it's doing well, but I'm not sure it's going to set the world on fire. But go see it. It's certainly worth your time.
All right, Sean, thanks so much.
All right, we'll see you next week.
And we'll see all of you at a matinee.